Ooh. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Inspiration Paradise podcast. Today, we're talking about NoFap again. This is something that a lot of men need help with, and women. And it drains a lot of energy and a lot of happiness from society. So today, I'm talking with Paul Jones, who joined my meetup group about NoFap. So hi, Paul, and how are you doing?
Hi, David. I'm doing okay. Working with myself every day. I feel, working with my how I feel within myself, the internal worlds. I just finished a yoga practice, which has really helped me feel grounded within myself, within my body. And to be flexible, not just physically, but also mentally, because I'm someone who's I came across porn when I was like 12, 13 years old. And I know a lot of people, men and women are specifically men are in this kind of using porn as a way to cope. And I'm working with it, and I'm finding that the yoga is really helping me work with this.
Yeah, great. So we're going to talk in this conversation a lot of solutions. We're going to share a lot of solutions. So stay tuned, and you'll hear a solution that resonates with you, dear viewer. So we're going to talk about how accessible pornography is, and it's very accessible. I mean, we're going to have kids one day at some point, and how can we prevent? If we're a parent, how can we prevent them from watching pornography? How do we prevent them from getting in that trap?
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously, I feel, the whole sex education thing. At school, there's a particular kind of layout to how they introduce sex. And I think when, as a child, if you do stumble across pornography, it's, because of the environments, it can happen if the parents are not, well grounded in the family structure. Then a curious child can find themselves in Google, and next thing you know, they've and
Forever.
What's that, David?
Their mind has changed forever, it seems.
Yeah. Just seeing one image, it burns into the brain, and it informs whoever's seen that of how sex is supposed to be, like on an emotional level, which is very especially for a sensitive child who is easily imprinted upon. And there's many kind of levels to the pornography, and there may be some parts of it that are educational, but in the majority of it, I've found through my own experience that it's really not. It's not at all.
What would you say it is instead of education?
So what is appropriate instead of education?
What would you say that pornography is instead of educational? What I would say is like it's indulgence. What is it?
It's an indulgence. Yeah, it's it's lust, and there's like I said, I started watching it at 12, so I've built up an idea of these sort of things through pornography, and I noticed that there's this lustfulness, and the desire to watch porn and see these images. It's of a lustful nature, and it's different than loving and bonding, and coming together in an honest, loving, open, communicating relationship. It's none of that. So it damages our ideas of what a proper, true, balanced, healthy relationship is. And yeah.
And for some men, they think that it can be a substitute for that. But what could possibly be a substitute for a loving relationship?
That's it. And I think it can be so long of watching pornography that it's the contrast of that, of what it actually feels like to have a loving relationship. Like that can get lost in it all. And people say that again.
It can get forgotten.
It can get forgotten, yeah. And the watching the pornography can just get brushed off. I think, especially as men, we're kind of programmed. We're conditioned, programmed, being conditioned. We've been taught. We've been trained by the media, the people around us, of course, to kind of, even in the language, we say it's a score, like, score, you had sex,
Yeah,
so yeah, it's become normalized. Even people don't realize that it's an issue watching pornography. People don't realize, people just kind of normalize it because of a lot of that conditioning.
I remember when I was about 13, we'd go on sleepovers with my friends, and we thought it was cool to watch pornography. We thought it was grown up. Little did we know, probably not a good thing to be doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, what just alarms me more than anything is that, there's so much regulation on the internet, and so many algorithms that determine what is the top result of a Google page, Facebook, Instagram, all these things, but how accessible the porn is again, but not just that, because like we were talking about the levels of pornography. I think I don't like the word pornography because it's just rings prostitution and sex industry and stuff like that. But that aside, they could possibly be an educational aspect to it, but it isn't like that. The 99.9% of pornography isn't there to inform men that they can be multi-orgasmic if they want to be, or it's and a lot of the porn videos as well have really, and there's not really anyone talking about it, but just how accessible it is just on Google, and all of these like incestual family role plays, and there's not people, very weird stuff, and no one's really talking about it. But the fact that it's just there on Google, and I live in the United Kingdom, it is weird, isn't it? And everything's supposed to be regulated. This so-called government is supposed to care about us, yet stepdad and stepmom, stepsister, fucking this and that is just like there on top page on bloody X Hamster. You don't even have to look for that; it will just find you. And I've been on this healing journey, ever since I recognized, oh shit, I've kind of messed myself up a little bit here through doing what I've done. But now with a stronger awareness, I'm able to put in practice, the yoga, for example, which is, allowing me to, stand in my power much more, because, like myself, when I was 12, I came across the pornography and I saw some unusual things. I'm healing from that still, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
Yeah. So I think it's important that we speak up and that we inform people that that, I mean, it's a funny one to talk about, but I think the more that we can educate people, the less likely people are going to be inclined to want to watch that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, since I started my journey in about 2018, 2019, I've been learning all about this. And it's just an absolute no-brainer that NoFap is the way to go. Let's talk about the benefits that come from NoFap.
So I think that's a much better light system.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, let's talk about the benefits in the light. So we've got light. Speaking of light, more energy. This is a top benefit.
More energy.
Yeah. When I was fapping, I felt like there was a black cloud above my head. I felt like I had no energy. I couldn't be attractive. You can't be attractive when you have no energy. And so as we build energy, it affects every aspect of our lives. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, so the benefit of NoFap for you has been increased energy levels.
Oh, for sure.
For sure, yeah, you feel that, and you say it's like a dark cloud that's just left. It's just left. And
Yep.
how did you come aware that your behavior was actually negative? Because a lot of us don't actually see what we're doing is causing harm.
I think I must have searched about it in about 2017. I must have searched on Google or something.
Mm-hmm.
I must have first had an intuition that this just isn't the way. Don't want to live like this. And so I must have typed in how to stop this.
Because you just knew deep down within yourself, intuitively, there was a part of you that just said, this doesn't feel, this doesn't resonate, it doesn't make. Yeah. And I feel.
Yeah. What we got to talk about as well is what's the best scenario regarding our sex life. Different kinds of opinions. You've got, one over here. We've got the camp that says one person relationship. My wife, very popular. But some of us young men also want to be able to have multiple relationships, play the field and whatever. This is a question I'd ask everyone. What's your ideal? It certainly isn't fapping.
What was the last bit you said? What is your ideal? And then
it certainly isn't fapping, is it?
It certainly isn't fapping. That's not the solution, though. It may feel in the short term that it's pleasurable, that it's exciting. It's it gets the dopamine rush, but it leaves you empty. It leaves you feeling empty. It does. So what is the ideal, like you say? Because in my world, I feel that it's the most important thing is the communication, because yes, I have done so much bloody damage to my brain through watching pornography that I've got to a point where it's kind of difficult to establish a deep, intimate relationship with a partner. So the one thing that helps me is knowing that I can communicate, so we can work through this sort of stuff. So my ideal is attracting a partner who's compassionate, who can sit with me and who we can work together through the good and the ugly stuff as well. Because the communication is so important, because after 15 years of fapping and watching porn, and then you get into a relationship, feelings may come up that you feel attracted to other women and stuff, and there may be a tendency for people to cheat. So I think having open communication with your partner is absolutely valuable.
Definitely.
Really is.
Oh yes, totally agree on that. Yeah, there's this whole topic, this whole theme of need. Hey man, we don't need. Imagine like this whole thing. When I first started watching pornography, there wasn't any need. It was only I was a kid, I was curious, but then it got into this need. I started to need it, and that's where we get into the trap. Need anything. A needless life.
Yeah, and the need creates a feeling of inadequacy, and the need takes us away from being truly present here in the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also feel the same, because in terms of increased energy levels, I really feel so much more energy within myself, and it doesn't feel fulfilling anymore to ejaculate. It used to be something I did to help me sleep, to release tension, but now I'm at a state I'm at a point in my life where I really want to transform. I want to transform the energy.
Yep.
And because the sperm is our gold as men. The creative potential of sperm is so much. You can make 1 million babies with the sperm. There's so much energy in it, and if it's constantly just going outside, it's making us old, age faster.
Wow.
It's they've done a lot of studies. I'm not sure exactly. I can't reference the university. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they've done studies on nematodes, these like type of worms, and they found that when they had created their offspring, that they would die. And we see that a lot in nature, that once the male has ejaculated, that they actually die. For us humans, for us humans, we don't die instantly. But, I'm trying to think of the animal on top. Which animals die instantly when they ejaculate, but we see that in nature. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to ejaculate. It doesn't make sense to ejaculate as often as we're doing anyway. I mean, it is healthy to ejaculate, obviously, of course, not to lock it up there forever, but it's working with this energy. It's working with it. It's transmuting it.
Nice. Yeah, I'd say when it's an escape, that's when we need to take a hard look at it. When it's an escape.
Yeah, and
yeah.
to be and to be compassionate towards ourselves in the midst of it. I think that's really important, is the self-love, and to give yourself that space and the time.
Dealing with urges. We should talk about dealing with urges. So
Urges,
when an urge comes up, what do we? Are you rolling a cigarette, by the way?
I am. It's a very particular type of tobacco. It's not just any type of tobacco.
I can't allow it on my channel. Sorry, man.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine. I respect that. It's okay. I was just.
But yeah. Another thing you
calms my nerves. Isn't it?
Yeah, man. Well, we should talk about, I'll cut it back in. Natural ways to calm the nerves, Natural ways.
Yeah, the natural ways to calm the urges. What have you used, David? What techniques have you worked with to work with that?
I'd say what my method is to prevent urges. I'll talk about preventing urges and then dealing with urges directly. Preventing urges looks like improving every area of my life: my diet, my sleep, my fitness, because whatever's taking my energy away is something that's contributing to my low energy, which contributes to the amount of urges I get. So I do that it's a very intelligent way to deal with urges, prevent them in the first place. And when an urge comes up, my most effective way is meditation. And what exactly do I do when there's an urge? I don't get them very often now. But what I used to do was sit down, observe the urge, and see myself as the one who is observing, who is peaceful. And stay as that peaceful one. I would only act if I believe that I am something that could be disturbed. When I stay as the peaceful one,
So, in a peace that you've found within yourself.
Yeah.
Through and you find that inner peace by creating space between you, the observer, and the urges. You just witness the urge, and you just see it and sit with it, and you dissolve it with your presence. Okay, so and sometimes, like you say, you don't have so many urges now, but I know some people their urges can be like have a strong magnetic kind of pull to them. So do you think people just need to like train? Well, not need to, I don't like to say anyone needs to, but do people just train mindfulness, train their ability to recognize when the urge arises?
Yeah. So there is a spectrum of intensity regarding urges. And if you're like a serious fapper and you're not, after like 30 days or whatever, let's say you're seriously in fapping, it's like relapse after relapse, then the urges are going to be stronger. And so for me, it's just like I recommend like a gradual view on this, where it's like you're going to slip up, but just keep going forward, keep going, and the urges will become less intense. And just trust that. But yeah.
Yeah, trust. Just the trust. Yeah. But at first, the urges may be really strong, especially if you've been relapsing every however often, But as we strengthen our attention. Where we put our attention is where energy flows. So, and the more we can kind of harness our attention, the less we're going to be, the less that pull is going to have on us. So yeah, the meditation is helping with you, David, and the yoga, which is also meditation. Also, it's using the breath. And yeah, it's really working wonders. The exercise that you're doing as well, you're doing exercise as well, so that definitely helps with if you're feeling
around.
it's intense. You can exercise helps regulate the sexual energy. It really does.
I see a slip up. I see these as like cutting our hands. If we keep slipping up, it's going to take longer for our wound to heal. And so the longer we leave it, the longer we stop, doing that, then the quicker it heals.
Yeah, I like that analogy because people talk about especially in the mental health team, they ask you the question, are you self-harming? And my answer is no. I'm not physically self-harming myself, but on another level, watching pornography, it is like cutting the wrist, and the wound just takes longer to heal. The more you kind of keep aggravating that same sore. So yeah, I feel that through awareness, because awareness is power. The more that we can become aware of these things, the more that we can create change and maneuver ourselves.
Definitely, awareness is incredibly helpful. The difference between like physical wound and psychological stuff is that physical is way more obvious, and we learn about first aid in school and stuff like this. This stuff you have to come to NoFap groups to learn about. It's crazy. But yep.
Yeah, and it's great. It's great to have these sort of conversations openly. I'd love to see more and more men, as a community, who are dealing with this and have dealt with this, and because especially if we have people who've already been through it and have come through the other side, those are the best sort of people to help the people who are really deep in the dark, bloody fat trap, because it can be really dark, obviously, for people, so yeah, coming together and helping each other,
Yeah. And again, this is a new challenge that humanity has to face. Completely new challenge. We never had this challenge before as a species.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because the internet and stuff, it's only very recent. Yeah.
I often say, don't have so much shame because that you're going through this, because you are the first generation. You're part of the first generation to ever have to go through this. So you can teach it to your kids.
Yeah.
That helped me. That really helped me.
Yeah, it's kind of empowering. Yeah, I know, because there is so much shame around it and stuff, and there's so much silence around it. But on a daily basis, I guarantee that, I mean, if you're walking past down the street, down the road, or in a city, I guarantee that at least 50% of the men that you walk past are watching porn. Yeah.
It's dark.
Yeah, but recognizing that we are one of the first generations to actually be faced with this sort of issue it's a challenge that a lot of us are facing, and I feel like the more we can just open up about it and talk about it,
Yeah.
and shine the light on the shadows, so to speak, the better we can, the more whole we can become.
Yeah. Talking about the sort of weird things in my NoFap meetings, it's a very open. Link in the description below. We talk about all the kind of things. People watching some weird stuff, but it's really helpful to just to get it out there, so it's not in your mind. You're not carrying it around. Really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so what the vision is for the audience is we want to get out of the fat trap as soon as we can. We don't want to make our whole life about it. We want to get out of the fat trap as soon as we can and get started on relationships, learning how to be attractive in the real world with real women. That's the way. That's the natural path. We're going to come out of this unnatural path, right? We're going to get out of this swamp that our circumstances just put us in, and we're going to learn how to become attractive men.
Yeah, to be magnetic men, to be attractive, to manifest what we want in this life, and in order to manifest our whatever it is you want to manifest. Maybe it's a new car, or maybe it's just a new state of mind. We require energy for that, and if we're constantly losing that energy, we haven't got the fuel for our manifestation.
Right.
So yeah, I'm finding myself, like, especially after, it only takes me personally of 3 days after not ejaculating to feel much more energetic potential.
Yep.
And when I feel that energetic potential, when I affirm to myself the things that I know, that I am strong and that I am well and that I am loved and I am appreciated, that when I feel this high energetic potential, when I affirm myself, when I affirm these things to myself, they have a lot more power to them, because I'm energetically more potent. So I'm noticing much more greater results in my life through combining semen retention with affirmations.
Oh, that's beautiful. Everybody in here, right, in the audience, type in success affirmations on YouTube, positive affirmations on YouTube. Check it out. There's actually a video, I've got affirmation videos on this channel, so check those out. Really awesome, created by me personally. They are great. Programming the subconscious mind for positivity.
Yeah, that's it. Because if we've been subjected to certain images on porn, then that imprints into the subconscious mind, and then we can end up dreaming about that stuff we watched. We can end up meeting people in the world that resemble the characters that we saw on that film or on that program or whatever. So we can wonder why we keep coming across so many issues and problems in life, not realizing that deep in our subconscious mind there's these emotional memories of experiences, like through my own experience, for example, like when I watched porn, well, porn is very kind of, how do I put it? I feel it's emotionally kind of stimulating.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, on a real deep level, and that emotional stimulation creates this huge spike within your consciousness that it's your subconscious mind, it remembers that. It remembers all of the little details of what video was it you watched, and again, I think most videos on pornography are very dominant and male dominant and feminine, degrading. So, for example, if you've seen one of those kind of videos, and the majority of them are, then you're going to, because you've been programmed that way through the emotional spike, the emotional memories installed into you, and then you feel that you just want to like dominate women and stuff, and you wonder where that might come from. People might wonder where that comes from.
Yeah, it can really. Ted Bundy, actually, the famous murderer, really said that pornography played a role, in, and that's kind of the thing we're talking about. I mean, that's like the highest degree of what you're talking about, but then there's lesser degrees which are also very problematic in society, which is just seeing women, hating women, not having any real relationships with women, seeing them as objects. Not on Women's Day, 8th of March, this is being recorded. Yeah, so that's why NoFap, as we gradually heal from this, it creates a healthy relationship with women. It gets us back to how we thought of women before we were in the fap trap, which is they're just other people. And yeah. Interestingly, of course, we get into the fap trap in the sexual learning phase when we're like teens. And so I think a lot of people get into it when they're trying to attract women, or back then it would be girls, but they don't have the skills. And I remember feeling this feeling of, okay, cool, I'm not attractive. Well, I win because I get it all on here. Little did I know that no, I did not win. It was not a win.
No, so it was. Do you think that then people are drawn to using pornography because they feel that they have not much skill when it comes to the actual act of it?
For sure.
So it's So we kind of like it's this stuff has to be like, I mean, just to like, it just has to be get rid of. I mean, for future generations, for future generations, man, I don't even think pornography can be educating, even like softcore. I just think, I mean, how do we educate about this sort of stuff, and at what age is appropriate to start educating about this sort of stuff, and how do you go about educating this sort of stuff? Because I mean, the stuff that I've been reading, which is, more ancient knowledge, from ancient China, like the Tao, for example, that's not in schools. It took me 15 years of my adult life to find a book that started actually piecing things together. But before then I felt a bit like just a problem with no solution. So I recommend to anyone who's watching and listening to this to check out Mantak Chia. He's a teacher. You know about him. Yeah. So that Yep. But I really feel that it's the objectification of women. It's like when you're at home, you're comfy, you've got your phone, you're looking at these girls through the phone, but because you're not actually having a relationship with them, they become objectified. But I think it's really amazing. It's amazing what you point out there, David, about just the women in general, of just a hatred towards women. It filters down to so many levels. Like one lady told me that a wise woman can tell what sort of relationship you have with your mum. She can sense that. yeah, we can sense that. And it's
Yeah,
just got. I think we've got to remind ourselves that pornography is a business, that it's money making, it's an industry, that it is fake. You know.
yeah, and not let it replace real life sexual stuff and our relationships with women. That's what's happening. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We're living in such a crazy time.
Yeah, we're living in crazy times. So many changes happening, on the collective, on many changes happening for individuals, but also on a collective level. It's madness. Just we've had, they just keep throwing more and more stories, man. Like COVID's disappeared, and now it's Putin. There is a war that's not just externally, like the Ukrainian war and the Russian war. This is a war of our own mind. This is a war within our consciousness, and this is a war of fapping and no fapping. It goes that deep.
Man, I thought about this, right? I thought about this. When when there's a war between two countries, right? Everybody from one country, they stop what they're yapping about, they stop what they're arguing about in the country, right? And they start focusing on this enemy. We get unity out of war, right? America got kind of unified for a second, right? When they found out that Putin's knocking on the door, right? Angry. What I'm going to get to is what unifies us all? What unifies all human beings? What's the enemy for all of us as a collective species? My answer is the devil or evil, whatever you want to say. That's the real enemy. If we all unite against the devil in ourselves, then we become happy, peaceful, healthy as a whole species.
Yes, yeah. And I think it's key what you say there, within ourselves, the devil within ourselves, because it's not an external devil, it's within our attitudes, it's within our thought processes.
Key. That's key. Amazing. Yeah, for too long it's been the devil in him, the devil in her. No, we need to purify ourselves.
Yes. Yeah, we do. Yeah. Yeah. And contemplating those the universal laws that everything is a reflection. I remind myself of this knowing most days that everything is a reflection, so that when I see a demon in someone else, I see a devil in someone else, really this is a devil that's within myself. And the only way that we're going to change the world and the so-called devils and demons and the wars in this world is by solving them within ourselves first.
Because
it
was all created by an inner devil. All the wars.
What's that?
So you said the only way we end all this outer devilry is to purify the inner devilry, remove all the inner devilry. And I add to that by pointing out that all the war and all the suffering we see out there, all the bullying we see, that's all created by inner devilry. So it's like, that will make sense for the listeners.
Yeah. And because I recommend also if people are looking for solutions, because we've got the meditation, obviously we've got the yoga, but there's a prayer called Ho'oponopono. You can find on YouTube. It's a difficult one to spell, Ho'oponopono, but it's an Hawaiian prayer of forgiveness and reconciliation. And on YouTube, you can find Dr. Hugh Len. He talks about the Ho'oponopono, and how we can clean this stuff when it arises. When these thought processes arise that are kind of like demonic, we can use the prayer of the Ho'oponopono to cleanse that. And the Ho'oponopono, the essence of that is basically that is to thank whatever is actually arising within yourself, because there's a reason why it's there. It's there to show us something. So you need to give thanks for it. Yeah, because to transmute these demons, we've got to be careful, because if we're trying to kill these demons, then we've got to check ourselves that we haven't become a demon ourselves. So, you've got to kind of like thank you for those thoughts. They may not be nice, but I love you thoughts. Because we don't want to turn against ourselves. I feel we don't want to be our own enemy in this process of letting go of whatever it is that's not serving us. We've got to be our best friend in this.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Yes. Yeah. All right. Oh, we can end on that. So everybody endeavor to be your best friend. Let's have this conversation in the comment section below. All the links in the description below. Check them all out. Thank you, Paul, for this incredible conversation and your transparency and your knowledge. And I really hope we've done a good thing here. And we'll end it there. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah. Thanks for opening the space, David. I appreciate you holding the space, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, and play music. Brilliant. Cool. Well, that was a good one. Good.
Yeah. Are we still recording here?
We are still recording.